Hello, I'm Game Retainer, and in this video I'll be going over some of the underground locations that can be found in 7 Days to Die. For this video I'll be using Navezgane, so all of the location coordinates will be for this map in particular. However, you can find these locations at some point on most maps. Keep in mind, if you've created the map yourself, you may not have all the locations, but most of the default maps have all of these areas on it. Now, with that out of the way, let's dive straight in. First up, we have Hexagon Hideaway. This place can be found at 1369 West, 505 South. Be prepared if you're a lower level player, because there are a lot of enemies around this area. I should say with this place, I have turned enemies off. So, yeah, there will be enemies when you're here. There's not for me because I've turned them off, because it's easier to show. Now, it doesn't look like much from above, but if I go underground, and yes, I'm using console commands, it's actually a pretty big underground facility with quite a lot going for it, to be honest. Once you've cleared it out, this could make quite a nice base. It needs a bit of work, but there's quite a few bits and bobs here. Great places for storage, a couple of floors to it. When you get in this bit, like with every POI, you go into the main bit, you will get swarmed by a bunch of angry zombies, but once you've cleared them out, it's quite a nice place. Not a bad place to call home. I'll just go outside of the view and you can see the actual structure size underground. It's quite big. So if you're looking for a nice underground place with a lot of potential, then Hexagon Hideaway might just be the perfect place for you. Next up, we've got Barts Salvage. This place can be found at 1176 West, 114 South. And as you can see, it's in the Burnt Forest region. Now, there are a couple of ways in. Most players will go around the back, take care of the zombies here, and head down this nice little entrance. It's not the only way in. If you go here and... let me go down here. And you break through this, then there's a staircase leading down, and this will take you in the back way. So you kind of take the zombies by surprise when you're clearing them out, because they won't activate if you go this way. Not at least until you get too close to them. You will have to solve a little maze thing to turn these off. You just go room to room in order, or just smash your way through walls, whichever suits you best. It's not as big as the previous place, but it's pretty well fortified. I probably wouldn't recommend staying here long term, not unless you're going to do some serious work to this location. But it's not bad during the early stages, and it's not bad at all as like a secondary hideout. Next up, we've got New Life Hope Cabin. This place can be found at 1496 West, 95 South. It's on the edge between the Pine Forest region and the Burnt Forest, and if I go up in the air, you can see the top of Barts Salvage from here. It's right where my cursor thing is. So it's not too far from there. It's not as well fortified as Barts Salvage, but it's a nice little place. If I just go under the ground here, you can see it's an underground little cave system. There's a few bits you can do with it. To be honest, probably not great for a base, but not bad for a mine. You may find some nice resources under the ground here. But if you're looking at getting lots of stone and clay, then yeah, this is not a bad place to be. There's relatively few enemies in here, especially if you come during the early stages of the game. There's a little bit of loot. Again, it's beginner stages loot, so it's nothing too crazy. But I think the loot room is here. A couple of containers, nothing too special. You will fall through the floor in the main building, if I remember rightly. If I'm lying, please let me know in the comments. But it's not a bad place, not a great place, but definitely fun to visit either way. Up next, we've got Hidden Hollow. This place can be found at 2162 West, 723 North in the Pine Forest biome. doesn't look like much at first glance, and it is very easy to miss if I go up in the air. There is not a lot going nearby that would make you come here. There is that building. There's a couple of bits over there. If I go to the map, not that that would help, but that's where I'm at. It's very, very easy to miss. Going back down, if you do make your way here, this is a nice early game shelter. There's a hatch here. I think there's 2 or 3 zombies usually inside this place. Not a lot. There's not a lot in the way of loot, and it's not particularly big. I think some loot's here. See some crates and whatnot. There's usually a zombie hiding in here. Sorry if that was loud. Still working on my audio. But this place could be turned into an early stages storage room. If you take all this out, it's not so bad. Wouldn't recommend hiding out in here during Horde Night because you're kind of going to trap yourself unless you make another way out. But it's a fun little area to explore. Up next we've got St. Mo's Cathedral. This massive building can be found at 1345 West, 1662 South, in the snow biome, as you can see. Now, it's a stone's throw away from this town. I never remember the name of it, but it's also within reach of, I think that's Trader Hugh down there, where my cursor is. Be warned, this is not an easy place to clear. There are lots of enemies rushing in from all angles, so take it with caution. Before I show you the underground section, up here, if you want some easy loot, you can just make yourself a little nerd pole, go straight up to the top, and there's quite a lot of decent loot, especially in the early stages. So this is not a bad place to go. As for the underground area, it is pretty big. If I show you the underground size from outbounds, it's a pretty large area. Inside, the walls... oh, I've got a bit lost. The walls are pretty strong. There's couple of ways in, couple of ways out. As you can see, I'm in the church. It's probably easier if I go out and I show you from this way. So you make your way inside, and here we are under the ground. I thought that was a zombie. It wasn't. It was a wall. Nothing too crazy, but it's a bit of a creepy one as well. You probably wouldn't want to turn this into a place to live, but, you know, that's just my opinion. Most players will have visited this one. As I said in the beginning of this entry, if you are a low level, give this place a wide berth. You may be able to sneak up the side and walk off with all this loot, but don't try and clear this until you're pretty well armed, and even then you might struggle. We're heading into the desert for the next one. This place can be found at 479 East, 1633 South. White Hill Church of God is one of my favourite locations in the game. It has such an interesting story as you make your way through. From what I've made of it, it's almost a cult that's taken over this place. And under here, they have a pretty big structure. Making your way through, you kind of look... I don't want to give too much away, but from what I took from it, it is a cult. And they came here to escape the apocalypse, I guess. There are a couple of ways in and out. You can go in through the back behind here, in, I'm assuming, the pastor's area. I think as well, there is also another entrance somewhere. If I go underground, I'll probably... yeah, it is. There. And you can make your way in down through there. And then down through here. When you get to the actual inner bit here, it's pretty well fortified. It's got a nice, healthy amount of loot. Definitely worth exploring. And even if you don't want to stay here, the story itself, or at least what I made out to be the story, was pretty interesting. One of the more interesting locations in the game to explore, and definitely worth a visit. For the last entry on this list, we're going into the Wasteland. Prepper's Den is a small underground bunker that can be found at 1392 West, 2029 South. It's very easy to miss. If I go up here, there aren't really a lot of noticeable features, so you kind of have to know the coordinates to make it here. There is that nice town over there, but aside from that, use the coordinates. This is the smallest of the locations. It is literally just a shipping container underground. As with all the other locations on the list, there will be a couple of zombies in here. Nothing too strenuous. There's some loot. You can see here. Nothing overly great. But it's quite a cool location, and I think a lot of players, especially newer players, will have missed this one. So, definitely worth paying it a visit. That said, that's the last one I've got on this list. This is by no means a complete list of underground locations. There are more. If you want to see more, let me know in the comments section. If you think I've missed out any of the most important ones, also let me know. I've been Game Retainer, and I'll catch you in the next video.